In this video, which is part 5 of creating a Coinmarketcap chart in Chartjs, and what we're going to do now is we have created our cursor already. We created the crosshair lines, but now what we're going to do is creating this crosshair label on the Y level. So as we move our chart or our cursor, you will see it will work nicely and it will grab the value what we're pointing on. So let's start to look how to do this. So let's start to continue on, and this is part 5. So what we're going to do is we're going to create these labels here, and maybe you have noticed it if you follow along with my previous videos, because this is all continuation of those videos, that if I am here outside of the chart area, we still have this very undesirable effect here. So this is not really very good, so I have to later on solve this, that when we are outside here, it should just hide it, because as you can see here, this is really not what I want. Anyway, that's a minor hiccup. We will solve that later on. Let's go and create the labels. So I'm going to create the labels here. We have a label here, and we have a label here at the bottom. So this is a tricky item. And I'm going to scroll all the way down, and that you should have as well. So within here, I'm going to put that in there. And what we're going to do now is, because I want to keep it separate, and as you can see, our entire item is becoming very extensive. But as we keep, because I want to keep those separate, I want to have here another function, and this function I will just call the crosshair label. So the crosshair label, and here we're going to put in a few variables. But what I want to do is, because they are connected directly together, I don't want to put it in here, or at least I don't want to put the code in here, but I want to put the function in here. So what has happened then is that we basically say, well, hold on, there's another function that we have that should be triggered along with our crosshair lines, which in this case is the crosshair labels. Here, I need two specific values. Basically, it is the values we have here. Since we name them very consistent, I can just copy these arguments, put them in here, and those arguments are basically as well parameters here. So you should know those differences. So now we have this here, and what I want to do now is start to work again with a few items. So I'm going to say here, we're going to do again here an object destructuring. You can find, if you don't understand what I'm doing here, check out my description. You will find there a video about that. So we say here ctx, comma. What I need here is probably the data as well, because we want to have here later on the label or name. And what I need more is the chart area. Then within the chart area, again, I'm going to use here. I'm not sure if I'm going to use all of them, but let's put them all in there. Top, bottom, left, right. And just for the sake of it, width and height. Once I have this, I also need the scales. Scales will become an important part of our work now. So the X and Y scale. So now we have those. I'm going to put in here. I'm going to put in some additional enters, so it just looks a bit more comfortable for me. I have more space. So what I want to do here now, and let's start with the Y label. So the Y label, in essence, is this label here. And here will be a tricky one, because the Y label needs to become, or needs to show here based on these values here, whatever we have here. So if it would be here, this should be 6 point whatever it would be, maybe 620, 625, I have no idea. So we want to make sure that Chartjs can calculate that for us. So now what we're going to do then is, going to say here ctx.begin path, and we're going to create first the shape. So the shape is very similar to this one here. We can copy that, but I'll just type it out so it's just easy to follow along. So I say here ctx.fill style, and what I will do here in the fill style is I'm going to say here RGBA, and then I'm going to use a slightly different color that is a bit more darker, or sorry, more lighter than this. So there's a difference in there. So I'm going to say here, instead of 102 that we have, I'm going to use 132. So I'm going to add up here that, and there we are. And then we say here 1, because it's a solid color. Next, what we want to do is here ctx.fill rectangle, because I want to create a rectangle. And this rectangle is exactly the same coordinates here, 0, and then here to the left side as the ending. So there's 0. Then we have here the Y value. I need to just check which one it is. And here I'm going to say here, this is left. There it is. And then we have here still the height itself. So the height, I guess, is about 20 pixels, very similar to before. And this one here, what is the calculation for this? Well, in this case, the calculation is, remember here with the x and y coordinates, so we can just reuse them. I'm just going to reuse this, copy this. They're exactly the same here. We are allowed to use this again. I think I already repeated that because we're in the function. So it's a function scope or block scope. So I'm going to say here the x over the y coordinates, save. Alright, so once I did this, what I want to do now is just say here ctx.close path to avoid any connection with anything else. Save this, and then let's see, do I have, alright, that's closing it. Let's see what happens. Alright, and as you can see here, this works. So you might wonder, if I refresh here and I hover over, it doesn't work. The reason why is because of the animation. Once the animation is done, because it's being loaded multiple times, then it starts to work. So that's the only hiccup or flaw in here. So you can see here we have this, but I want to push this a bit more higher. At least this should be 10 pixels higher. So what I'm going to do here is this, and then I'm going to say minus 10 pixels. Why minus 10 pixels? Exactly the same, because I want to put in the center later on the text, and the text is approximately 12 pixels, so we have some space of panning up and down. Alright, that starts to look very, very nice. So now, what I want to do is the following, which is the label, or the label itself, the text in that label. So I'm going to put in enter, enter. We're going to do this for the Y label. I'm going to say here, ctx.font, indicating here the font type or family design. So we could make this bold if you want, but it's not necessary. In this case, I'm just going to say pixels. Pixel of 12 pixels, and the font family sans serif. There we are. So if you want this bold, you can say here bold, or bolder, or italic, whatever you want to do. That's all canvas code, so it doesn't matter. So then what I want to do here is, what I want, of course, is a white color as well. So I'm going to say here ctx.fill style, and this equals white. Very straightforward. Next, what I want to do here is, let's say here ctx.fill text. I'm going to write the text, and it's going to put in here now demo text, and after we have to probably center it and do some things on it. So let's say here 100 for now. Once I did this, 100. That's the text, and then we have the x and y coordinates as well here. So where are we going to put this? Well, we're going to put this at the left side, divide by 2. Very similar to what we have here at that one here, at this line here, the 9.33. I'm just going to just type it, retype it here, and I'm going to say here the y core, that's this one here. Let's see if we are getting close to it. Alright, so now here we are, we have the 100 here. Of course, this 100 is fine, but I don't want the 100. I want the number that's matching with that on the y-axis. So how do we get this? And I'm surprised that the alignment of this should be center and baseline. I guess somehow it's already perfectly in there, so that's fine. So what I'm going to do here, well, I just will want to make sure that this is really set. So I'm going to say ctx.text baseline equal, and here I'm going to say middle. Probably we're just getting it from some upper code here. I fear that we didn't restore the code in there, so that's alright. So we have this one here, and then what I want to do is as well text alignment in the center, because by default, if I reset everything, it should basically be on the reset position, and I feel like that it's not. So that's why I'm doing this. Although it looks already fine, but just to be sure. Center, save. Alright, so we have this one now. Let's convert this number. How do we do that? Now remember we had the data here. So what we're going to do now is, well, I'm not even sure if we need the data. What we need to do is something else, by the way. Sorry, we don't even need the data. What I'm going to do here, remember we have the scales here. That's the one. Because the data will be used later on the X label. That'll be the next video, by the way. So then I'm going to change that. So what I'm going to say here is the following. Say here the fill text, and what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say y for the y scale, and then we're going to say here get, and remember we used one previously which is the get pixel for value, but now I want to do exactly the opposite. I want to get value for the pixel. So we say here get value for pixel, and the pixel value will be core Y. Put that in there, save that, refresh. Alright, as you can see here, it looks like a massive number, which is correct, but what happened is, I'm not sure if you're able to see it, there's just multiple decimals in here. So what I want to do here now is, I'm going to filter that, so I can say dot to fixed. Say only 2 decimals is acceptable, save, refresh. Now we have it, and there we are. Absolutely beautiful. There we are, and that works. So that is basically the first one. Next video, we're going to do the one at the lower, where we need to do some tiny adjustments as well.